Ladies and gentlemen, we are live in another broadcast in the Roofing on the Rise studios. We're sponsored by the Chad T. Wilson Law Firm. When the insurance company denies, delays, and defends their position, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll get you in contact with the right people over at Chad T. Wilson Law Firm. The telephone number is 210-919-8987. Today and every day, we have an awesome guest and topic, and today is no different. Today we have Adam Bensman. Adam, how are you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing great. I get to spend my days working with my people in my community and my team. And what more could you ask for?
Man, it's hard to sit there and be negative when you have that right there. That's for sure.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to pull yourself up out of your own way. I'm not gonna lie, I got to do that sometimes. But how are you doing, man?
And I'm doing a lot better, actually. I'll be honest with you, it has been kind of a windshield bug type day.
Yeah.
And so I knew I was getting on with you, and so I took a little time to recenter myself. Actually, most people say, "Hey, I'm doing great," but I just started a business. We talked about that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, new added stresses of car ownership. So trying to run flat tires, and it's just it's first world problems again. Like what you said, it's kind of hard to be down whenever you have that kind of support or that kind of system in your life.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an awesome ride. Business ownership's definitely different than clocking in at the 9 and 5.
Yeah. There's no clock, and then no one pays you. And no one gives a shit how much you work.
Yeah. You got that book behind you, and you recently released that book. Pretty excited about the release of that book. Could you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I wrote this book. It's called The Roofing Sales Survival Guide: How to Beat the Odds, Overcome Yourself, and Win Big. And became a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And what's funny, people ask me, they're like, I just want to get this out of the way. That's not like a marketing gimmick, and I didn't expect it to. People bought lots of copies of the book, and lots of people bought the book, and they armed their whole team with it. The reason they did is there's 2 reasons that people quit this business, because there's really high turnover, as you well know, especially in your new field with recruiting. 2 out of 3, in my experience, will quit or get fired in their first year. There's 2 reasons it happens. One is they weren't prepared for success from a sales training standpoint. But I've got, I think, 1,400 or some videos on YouTube, however many podcast episodes. I have a full training system on that. There's content galore, industry specific, not industry specific. And I wanted to plug the second reason. The second reason is people weren't prepared for the mental and emotional battlefield that is roofing, because this business is very simple, but it is not easy. Yeah. And a lot of folks have shared their stories with me about their struggles. And I wanted to write this book to share my story, knowing that my story is not unique. Like what I'm going through, a lot of people have commented saying, "Hey, dude, I feel like you wrote my story." I was like, that's the big idea. You should be you'll likely feel like you're reading your story through mine. A lot of people feel alone and like they're a loser. They're judging themselves on Facebook, call it the comparison creature. So I share all that and more in that book there. And a lot of companies have now made it required reading for their new hires.
I think it's super awesome. I kind of lost track of how many I bought. I'm sure I could go through Amazon and figure out how many.
Thank you for the support.
Absolutely. I just felt that it was, again, like you said, something of a required reading, something that people should read. And so anyone I was talking to for almost, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, I was just like, I was handing them a copy, ran out of copies, order more, hand them out. What I love about what you've done is you've made education accessible. And with the book, it touches on those soft spots that not everybody talks about, and we need to. And so, I right here, thank you for writing the book, because it's definitely something that sent waves into our industry and positively. I think it's awesome.
Well, thanks, man. It's been cool seeing your Facebook posts when you've grabbed copies and sent them out to people. So
sometimes when you're doing content, you're like, man, are people actually watching? Are people actually seeing this? And I felt like with the book that if it's something free, they're gonna click and they're gonna be like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. So it's a way in which that is an icebreaker almost. So if you're out there, you're business to business, and you need an icebreaker, Adam Bensman's book is the best icebreaker. Just letting you know. Well, hey, so I want to ask you, the title is 3 tips for any sales organization. What would be like the biggest tips that you would give for a sales organization in today's marketplace? Like what do you think are the most important 3 things for a sales org?
it's a good question. I'm thinking through because obviously there's a lot. Let's see where it goes. Number 1 would be to do role play as a company. A culture. It's amazing how much learning occurs in role play, and it cracks me up. Companies that don't do it, because I'm sure there's people tuning in. They're like, "Dude, I already do that." Kudos. I'm going to give a few pointers to maybe help enhance the role play even more from what you're doing. But for companies that aren't, here's the common excuses: too busy. Next excuse: my team doesn't want to do it. Next excuse is the people that say it's not real. I sell differently in the real world. And my response to that is, hey, that means you got to practice, because what you do in practice should be how you perform in the real world. And when I started doing role play too, I'd say, oh, it's different. It's different when I'm not in front of a group. But when your team can learn to sell and go through the process in an environment in which they are uncomfortable, there is nothing to lose. When they do this in the real world, there's a lot to lose. In fact, when I spoke at RoofCon a couple years ago, my presentation was called "The Cheat Code to Double Your Sales Skills in the Next 21 Days." And when we look at what it really means to be in roofing sales or any sales position in general, how you perform on game day determines your livelihood. For most people, the person who's in sales is either the primary or sole breadwinner for the household. So let's say you're the only one bringing in a paycheck. When you screw up in the real world, you're taking food and money out of your wife, husband, kids' mouths. And most people don't think of it like that. It is, you screw up, you don't get paid. But the missed opportunity is theft. Someone's stealing money from you. So if you think I'm going to try to figure it out on game day, or I perform better under pressure, it's pure delusion. And the big idea is, if you sell 100 roofs in a year and you hear a common objection that comes up at the end of an appointment, such as, I got to talk to my wife about it. You'll only hear that at the end of an appointment and only at qualified appointments. So in other words, it's like the objection with the least amount of repetitions that you're able to overcome.
Right.
And if you're able to practice that one objection 10 times in a day, which doesn't take long at all, 10 times in a day for 21 days, that's 210 repetitions, which means you're going to experience it. You'll have many years worth of experience compared to the person who just thinks they're going to wing it. And I had this come up. I was speaking at an event. Gosh, where was I? I was on the East Coast. It was about a year ago. And we were doing role play at the event. And this young kid, dude, he killed it. I was blown away. Like, man, how long have you been in this business? He goes, I've been in this business for 6 months, but I do role play every day. Meanwhile, the next day, because I was doing these things back to back, I was down at another event. We were doing role play. This guy's been in the business for 15 years. And he was a fumbling, babbling buffoon compared to 6-month role play guy. Wow. And that's because the kid that was doing role play understood that Buying patterns follow buying decisions and buying behavior follows a relatively predictable pattern. And therefore, the selling process needs to follow that same predictable pattern. And that predictable pattern leads to the same very predictable objections. So when we can rehearse and practice in the most uncomfortable environment, which is when we have spectators of our peers, we, one, work out the kinks, two, costs us absolutely nothing when we screw up, and three, we get years and years and years of experience. And on top of that, we build a culture of getting uncomfortable. And in sales, we need to. We get in the repetitions. We have an opportunity for our other team members to see a different style of sales. And we still do it. I do it with my team. We do role play, and we, in fact, watch each other's sales calls and provide coaching on each other's sales calls. But anyway, I think that'd be tip number one is doing role play. It is amazing what happens to the culture in the sales performance, and it is a free tool. You don't have to go out and hire anybody. You don't have to go buy anything. Do it in your own company. And
it's just like it's so simple. I mean, it's not. You just have to like pick the day. I like doing it in a sales meeting. You have a really good outline on how you do meeting stuff, and do the same way every time. And so putting it in the meeting as if it's just required, like that's just what you do, right? It changes the dynamic of the sales team entirely. From the can't do to the can do attitude. And I think that's super, super important. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah. And I want to add one thing to that, and then we'll move on to the next one. But a lot of people do role play in this like chest beating way, where it's like, hey, you're going to get up and I'm going to be a total butthead and try to beat you down and throw you hard objections. But that equates to bad practice. And what we need to do is isolate what we're practicing. So role play shouldn't be, when you start doing it, this should be 2 minutes or less per repetition. I'll give you a few examples. When I'm showing up at a house, I want to practice all the real life scenarios I'm going to face. So I can boil those down into number one, the reasons I'm showing up. Why am I showing up at the house? I'm brand new in the neighborhood. I just signed a deal. My customer's job just got scheduled. The job's getting installed or the job's done. Those are the 5 reasons I'm there. So when I show up at the door, I'm going to just practice my opener, and that's it. The homeowner's not responding. It's just to get the repetitions in. Then the sales rep should provide feedback for him or herself first, what they did well and what they could do better next time. This creates a level of self-awareness, which is the strongest skill set we could develop in sales. And when people don't learn to coach themselves, they don't become self-aware. Many people will say, I don't know. It's like, great, challenge yourself. And it can even be, hey, I did a good job. I faced my fear. I got up here. Then once they get comfortable, then we layer in the next step, which is the homeowner responding. And we're going to learn to sell for the different scenarios. I'll just use storm for an example, because I know that there's a lot of folks, since you're talking, you got a sponsor here does insurance claims. There's 4 stages of claims process: no claim, partial payment, denial, check in hand. So we have to present to different answers that indicate that's where the person is in the process. When it comes to objections, again, we start with just the person giving you the objection. We want to make sure that sales rep can respond without like, cat got my tongue. And then we'll make it progressively harder. But again, the feedback loop: sales rep coaches him or herself what they could do well, what they could do better. Turn to the team, get their feedback. Then turn to the trainer, give his or her feedback. Repeat 3 repetitions. Each person, you're going to watch that transformation unfold before your eyes. It's pretty rad.
I want to even say that that's a part of the training system that you have out there. Is that still available?
Yeah, it's available to these people. Oops, other shoulder. Members of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance. I'm keeping my training out of the wrong hands. So we've kicked people out. I actually sadly had to kick out a member this week.
Really?
And this happens. Everyone takes a pledge. We do our due diligence. It's application only. But yes, my system's available. It's for members, and the system is evolving, because we're teaching people not only how to sell, but how to sell as a member of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance, using their member certificate, the resources that we provide, the sales presentation, the done-for-you co-branded sales presentation we provide, things like that.
So let's jump into that, because I think that's like the whole reason why we did a second one to begin with. I clicked read like the first couple of lines, misunderstood it, hit you up and was like, "What's going on?" Because I just don't understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, "Oh, dude, this is what we're doing now. Like, let me actually it'd probably be a good idea to jump on a podcast."
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into it. I know we hit that first one, which is role play. So we'll come
Yeah.
back to 3 points.
Sure.
Since we already hit a little bit of this, tell me a little bit more about the Roofing and Solar Alliance. Why did you even make it?
Yeah. So this is an evolution. I reinvented how I do business and how I serve contractors. And there were a couple of reasons that led me to making this very serious pivot. And it was not an easy pivot. The fellow business owners out there, literally the month before, we had a record-breaking month as the Roof Strategist selling my sales system, and we doubled year over year. We were pacing for an incredible year. And I took that business and I shut it down to start the Roofing and Solar Farm Alliance. Why? Belief. My sales system had fallen into the hands of people that I wish didn't have it. Folks that were doing things that we know contractors do. And I started to hear reports of that, sales reps not getting paid. By the way, there were sales reps too that were accessing it that were not good people. It's not just companies. There's nothing I could do because my model was sell the system, you own it for life. And I set out to change the industry with affordable training, and I'm glad I feel like I did. Sadly, it became abused in many ways. That's just one of them. I don't need to get into the others right now. But I also noticed that my time was spent selling my system. It was like produce content, sell my stuff, produce content, sell my stuff. And from like a personal fulfillment standpoint, my time was just spent selling. And I really wanted to build relationships and work alongside people. So I said to myself, how can we pivot how we do business to, number one, make sure the right people have it. Number two, go from a transaction business where I'm just selling things to a relationship business where I'm working in the trenches with people. And then number three, make an even bigger impact. And that's what I kid you not. It was like 1 a.m. I was in a hotel room on a speaking event and I didn't sleep that night. It was like 1 o'clock. I was up. I go to bed early when I'm out at speaking events. And the name Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance popped in my head. I'm like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to reform the industry through leadership and action. Then that morning by 8, before I was speaking, I called in a all hands on deck meeting with my team. I was like, guys, we're pivoting our business. Here's why. And everyone's like, yes, let's do it. And within 3 months, we completely rebranded. We built and launched an app for our private community. And we completely pivoted to work with less people, the right people, and with value alignment on a stricter process of who's a good fit, who's not. And it's been a blast. It's been the most fulfilling thing that I've done. And I'm honored to bring in the other leaders who work inside it, which is Deshaun Bryant, the roof hustler himself, John Cenac, who needs no introduction, Cody Landels, who was a client turned friend, built an 8-figure roofing company in 3 years. He's doing 2 to 3 million a month, almost 100% virtually in retail, by the way. So he's another leader. He's one of the smartest business owners in the roofing space. And we built our Roof with Solar sales system together. We beta tested it. His company's using it. That's part of those figures. And then Jim Aline, who is the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, as well as the host of the Roofing Success podcast, who's one of the most brilliant minds in marketing. So we get to work with folks in the trenches, joining us for live interactive coaching sessions, posting in the community in our app to get on the fly help, which is the main reason people join, is for the network, like-minded people, and through collaboration and learning, and then access our sales system, come to our annual in-person only, our annual members only event, which right now is sponsored by Owens Corning and Engage, where we've got a few more sponsorship slots open. So anyway, it's a blast, man. I love it. I could go on and on. That's enough of a nutshell. If anyone wants to learn more, rsra.org/join.
All right. So leadership in action. You talked about taking some people off.
Yeah.
I am super turned off on roofing organizations, just be honest with you. And I think that's a part of the reason why I reached out and I was just like, bro, what's going on?
Yeah.
My problem is there's a lot of censorship, and what's cool is you control this, so it's pretty awesome. We know where your heart has been for years because we've watched your content, we've watched you grow. I've been a part of the growth myself. And even before we even knew each other, I watched your content and you helped me grow.
I love that.
And so as I think about these things, I also look and I think about the roofing organizations that are in almost every single state that tout themselves at being a roofing organization and giving a roofing license. Okay. And that they themselves will kick out other contractors that are unethically practicing business. And they don't. They don't do it because it threatens their membership and it threatens the way in which that they do business as a organization. And you see this consistently across the board. And so my question is, what would somebody do to get kicked out of the Roofing and Solar Alliance? What would be like your cardinal sin?
Yeah, there's no one thing. We have an application process. So what we do, if you go to our website, rsra.org/join, you can book an application call. We ask a series of questions, and our team has qualification checklists of preliminary research prior to the call. From that, if there's red flags, we either reach out or cancel the call. We run the call, and then through the application, our team knows our qualifying criteria in what to look for in members. As long as they're a good fit, they'll be offered membership. If they're not, they won't be. And after they sign up, we have another round of investigation that's done when we set up members, where we're looking up the owner's name, we look up the company, and then obviously it's self-police through our community. So we did, in fact, have one bad apple slip through the cracks. And on our second round of checks, we found out that this individual had some legal cases against them for collecting deposits and not doing the work. There was operating without a license, that type of thing.
Okay.
We had another member that had, it came to our attention because we have a lot of our members connect with each other, and these particular members were looking at merging. They got into the financials of the other one and brought some things to my attention that were very alarming. And I cannot even tell you how many hours combing through their P&Ls, basically running a judicious process where I'm fact gathering from the party that just brought this to my attention, from the party that's being accused, so to speak. We had a call with the three of them, including a CFO, going through all the financials. And what I do is I measure everything against our pledge. Our members take a pledge to, number one, give an amazing customer service experience. Number two, to provide a transparent and educational sales experience. Number three is to take extreme ownership as leaders of oneself and one's team. Number four is to create a culture that our customers and employees are proud to be part of. And number five is to be a steward of those we serve in the roofing industry at large. So if any of the actions that they're doing violate any one of those, it's grounds for termination. And again, that can be anything from code of conduct. That could be someone creating damage on properties. That could be cash flow concerns and managing cash that's jeopardizing the livelihood of homeowners, i.e. deposit checks. That can be criminal history, etc.
Deductible eating?
Deductible eating, the answer. So the reason that I'm okay. Florida? No, this everyone who watches my content knows I'm against deductible eating.
Right.
Very against it. Florida, we denied entry to someone because they openly said I eat deductibles.
What?
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, how are you not in jail? So we didn't let him in. But anyway, my point is, it is outright illegal in certain markets. Yeah. Period. There are other markets where it's not deductible eating, where you can take ACV payments and apply it towards a deductible. So to answer your question, we do not condone people eating deductibles, because if you're eating a deductible and then invoicing for a deductible, that is fraud. Period.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah.
No, I'm just like, let's say I join the alliance. I'm not a roofing organization, but let's just say hypothetically I was a roofing organization. I'm joining the alliance. And I'm like, oh, I know his guys eat deductibles all day long, right? And we bring this to your attention. what's the process of getting that heard? Is there an appeal process? Is there
Yeah.
something in which
This
that
is
the contractor must contact you or what have you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I do have an SOP for this. Here's the
Okay.
high level. I have to do everything in fact. I've had complaints. I've had 3 to 4 complaints from members about other members,
Yeah.
and there's no facts. This guy's a scumbag. Cool. He has 5-star reviews online.
Yeah.
I can't find one piece of evidence that says he is.
Yeah.
And you're telling me he does this stuff.
Right.
Bring me facts.
Yeah.
If you bring me facts, and then I'm going to gather the facts from this person, I'm going to gather the facts from the other person, and then the 3 of us are going to sit down and I'm going to talk through this with everybody. I also have a committee called committee members. So if there's decisions that we need weigh in, we turn to them, and then the decision is made. Either one, I get the privilege of making that decision because it's in the membership agreement. You can get kicked out from it. And then if I need some help on hey, is this a decision we need to go through together? Then we do. But I also know that there are people that change. You know, the industry has felons, and there are people that come out and clean up their lives. So there is some semblance of discretion that, like, if something happened 10 years ago, and you're a different person and running your business for the last 10 years above board, I'm not going to punish someone from a mistake 10 years ago.
Right.
I'm going to take a look at what's happening today. And I think that's fair. And I know that I have some members that are upset at other people and this and that. And this guy left that company because he's claiming they did this, and he says that they're fraudulent. But I'm like, but you worked there for 2 years.
Right.
How fraudulent could that be? And then, you know, but then there's no hard evidence of this stuff. So I do the best. I do the absolute best I can. Is the system perfect? Hell no. Will it be? No. Is it going to be the best I can? Yes. Am I going to always improve? Absolutely. But that's a bit about how that process works.
Sweet. Yeah. I just, those are things that are in the back of, I know, a lot of people's minds whenever joining an organization, just because organizations seem to have that popularity contest that goes on, and it's unfortunate, but it's pretty rampant across the industry. What's crazy is you could be popular online, and because of your popularity online, you are now an authority in the space, which is weird. This is the only industry that really practices like this, right?
Oh, no way, dude. That's our world right now.
Oh,
we live in the attention economy. It doesn't matter what you know. It matters how big your audience is. It carries your credibility. They've studied this. Read, Invisible Influence.
Invisible
Influence.
I'm gonna write
People that have a large following. I'll give you an example. Oh gosh, what's her name? Female pop star, sells tickets, richest person ever. What's her name? Katy Perry? Not Katy Perry.
Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift. I think it was Taylor Swift. I could be wrong, but in the same realm. By the way, I'm horrible with keeping up on this stuff. She came out to talk politics. She carries no weight whatsoever.
Right.
And she's Democrat. This was in a previous election, and she did a call to arms saying you should vote Democrat. The next day, there were record numbers of new registered voters for the Democratic Party. So the whole point is, if you have an audience, it carries weight. So this, I don't know. Anyway, I didn't mean to shade.
That's the thing now, is that you've got following, and that makes you a authority. And it's crazy to see people that have been in a business in a year or 2 years on stage, like teaching other people, and I'm baffled, just like why a state ran organization or a local roofing organization would condone that type of activity, knowing that there are people in their ranks that are 20, 30, 40-year contractors that they have more business speaking about notoriety, about their business, about marketing, about everything, opposed to someone that came in for 2 years that has a following online.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of the red flags have been just thrown, bro. Just
Yeah.
right. So I'm glad we were able to like narrow down some of these things and talk about some of these things, because ultimately ignorance is the issue on
Mhm.
my end, right? Like if I don't know something, I'm ignorant to it. I really can't make an informed decision about it, right?
Yeah.
Or even publicly push it out. Um, we've needed something to reform the industry for quite some time. But let me ask you, I don't know, MRPs. So if a company is a part of a managed repair program, let's
Mhm.
get Mad Sky, and they try to apply, is there any kind of checks and balances with MRP programs? Do you support MRP programs? How do you stand on that?
It's a good question. I don't see. Is it something that I love? No. Do I think that they can be leveraged? Well, yes. We have a member who's part of an MRP program, not that one,
Yeah.
and it has skyrocketed their growth because they have a 95% close rate on those deals, and they sign up all the neighbors, and that's the way to leverage an MRP.
Yeah.
Um, it's about how you do business,
Yeah.
and I quite frankly don't care. I don't want a lot of members. We've talked about this internally with our team today. Once our membership gets to a comfortable base where we're kicking butt and we got the right people on board, we're likely going to increase our rates. Why? Because already now there's two types of people. The people that look and say, dude, that's cheap. And I'll tell you, that's the right contractor. Membership rates start at $997 a month. And the people that say, holy crap, I can't afford that, you're not our customer. I'm going to rub some people the wrong way. My belief is that if you don't have $997 a month, if it's a roofing company, you don't have a business yet. And that's okay. We all have to bootstrap our way up there. But you're talking about
Sorry.
you're talking about having a business where one mistake on a home can cost you tens of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
And if you don't have $1,000 left, how are you going to take care of your team? How are you making payroll? How will you make it right for your customers? That's my question. And it doesn't mean that I don't support you, because we all have to start somewhere and money doesn't grow on trees.
Right.
But I do know that we were actually talking about this internally as a company today. We have a Friday sales meeting and said how interesting it was that the companies that are doing well and are a good fit are all like, dude, that's too cheap. And I'm like, I know. I mean, any other mastermind's $20,000 to $30,000 a year. We're at 12, and we include more value tangibly than anyone or anything else in the industry, period.
Mm.
And I could back that up 7 ways from Sunday. So then you got a guy that's like, oh, $1,000. Like, I can't do that. It's like, dude, that's great. But what I hope to do is I hope that my free content helps you grow your business and get to the point that you can join us on our mission. Yeah. That's what I hope. So we just want to make sure we got the right people in there who are both willing and capable of growing their business. Plus, we do have young companies. We have companies that are just getting going, but they're savvy business owners that have the financial means to grow a roofing company in a healthy way and stand behind what they do. So anyway, I didn't mean to go off my tangent. I know it's a divisive topic.
You're good.
But yeah.
I like talking about those things though, because not a lot of people like to talk about it, right? I think it's important to talk about those types of things. We could talk about what an MRP does to the economy, what it does to roofing, what have you. But you have someone that is using the MRP program. It's a positive means of a business, as well as pushing more business, which I agree with you. If you're a part of an MRP program, the MRP program is not necessarily what you should be getting rich on. You should be using the MRP program as a campaign, a marketing campaign, because they're putting you where you need to be. Like, you don't have to, you almost don't even need a map, a storm map. If you're getting claims from that MRP, they're sending you out. So you just go out and you send the team and you're good. So I see there, of course, there's positive and negatives in the industry. We can
with
talk about
everything.
every.
With everything.
What I'd like to do is reel back, right?
Yeah.
To the three
Tips.
right, that you would give to any sales organization. Let me ask you this one. What's the second one? So we
Second
did
tip.
role play.
Yeah, role play. The second one would be public accountability.
Ooh.
And the reason, and I actually have to attribute a lot of this to Cody Landels, the fellow mentor inside RSRA, friend of mine that I was sharing before, one of the smartest business owners. I just pulled up Slack. We use this internally. Public accountability. I made a YouTube video on this topic, and it was really funny. I had a lot of angry people, sales reps, calling it micromanaging, and then a lot of business owners that were like, "Dude, this is great," and I know that like we need this, and they're like, "You don't know what it's like to run a company." So this isn't about micromanaging. People perform better under pressure. Period. If you're comfortable, you're losing. Everyone, myself included, is uncomfortable at our company frequently. Push the comfort zone. So, for example, every morning they post, I've got mine pulled up, our WIG, wildly important goal for the day. Why? Because I know who's up and who's not up.
Yeah.
And it sets an intention for the day. And you just told everyone what your goal is. There's a stat, I'm going to butcher it. I think it was that you have an 82% higher likelihood of achieving a goal if you tell someone else about it. Great way to start the day.
Love it.
The day ends we have a sales channel. And the sales channel is where everyone, I'll just look at this. They'll post the number of sales, the value of the sales, the number of appointments, and the number of new appointments generated. That's daily. Then Melissa, who's my executive assistant, she posts a screenshot of the activity report from our CRM, which indicates the number of created leads, outbound calls, inbound calls, average call duration, sent emails, received emails. And we know everyone sees that, who's working, who's not working. And visibility, just having visibility creates accountability. So when you have a team that knows what's going on, they get competitive. So like we also have a share the wins where people celebrate their wins. And then we also have a pipeline when we welcome new members. We actually just, look at that. A new company just jumped on board a minute ago. Excuse me, not a minute ago, at 3:28, 20 minutes ago. And we now, like, that comes in and we've got Melissa, what? Kennedy, wow, killing it. Lorena, congrats. Matt, thank you. We have like gifts coming in because Matt was joking that today felt like it was crawling by. Matt brought on 3 new companies today. And we are like all sending gifts of people crawling. So that accountability at the end, then like other members of the team are like, dude, what do you're killing it. No one wants to throw the goose egg up there. So this semblance of accountability to bookend the day with your wildly important goal and then a sales report daily, just those 2 things. A lot of companies, they don't know where their team is, who's actually working. They don't know who's snoozing in. They don't know who's hungover. They don't know who's actually out knocking doors. So having that report is, again, the salesperson thinks, oh, I'm being micromanaged. No, you're not. You're being put in an environment that puts a healthy amount of pressure so you do your job because you're going to perform at a higher level when someone's watching. So that would be tip number 2 is public accountability.
Sweet.
And by the way, just on that note, one last thing, because people think it's a one-way street. My entire team sees my calendar. In my personal calendar, I put on my business calendar. They know every appointment I have. They know when I'm available, when I'm not available. I participate in this. I don't do sales for our company anymore, so I don't put my sales numbers in because I don't do sales. But I put in my goal for the day, and I put in the same weekly report on Fridays, which I didn't talk about, but we do a after action report. Everyone reflects on their week and they put that in. I participate in all this, and I have the same level of accountability that my team knows when I'm my head's down, I'm getting projects done. So anyway, I just wanted to say that it flows both ways.
I like that. I'd expect that too. I mean, I'd expect that. What's number 3?
3 is process. And to define this, because I know this gets tossed around, we need systems and processes. In fact, one of the main reasons that members join RSRA is they're looking for systems and processes. And we obviously provide a lot of those. And then our members, we've got a crowdsourced library, they share these things. But there's a lot of organizations that do well. The growing pains, by the way, is your first 3 million, your first 5 million, your first 10 million, your first 15, your first 20. Those are the big pushes to go, like who you are at a $1 million, $2 million your company. You hit 3 million, you're starting to push through production problems. The owner's getting him or herself out of the way. You're at 5 million. I'm putting in key members of leadership. I need to now have like a dedicated people to run aspects like, let's say, supplementing, let's say, starting into sales management. I absolutely need a clean office staff. Then you push to 10 million and your production completely cripples. You're having cash flow problems that you never predicted. So there's just different types of growing pains that occur. And for a business to run I'm a salesperson. That's what I do. It's where my brain is wired. If we localize just like this, like when you said sales organization, there needs to be a sales process that is followed, that is consistent based on the experience that people have. So whoever applies to join RSRA, your experience will be the same format, flow, talking points, and process, whether you meet with Dre, Kennedy, or Matt on our team.
Yeah.
There's different personalities, but it's the same process. Our onboarding experience, which we just enhanced as of this morning, and I'm so happy about it because I really want to absolutely kick butt and wow people. That process is in place. So for the roofing company, how is the phone call or lead answered? Is there a script and a process? Is the homeowner getting qualified? Our biggest mistake is for our members, I did secret shoppers on our members, recorded the calls and gave feedback. We published it in the group and everyone learned from it. And it was cool. People being willing to put themselves on the spot. But most of the companies failed to set expectations. They did a great job on the front end, but they didn't say, great, here's what happens next. This is how to prepare for your appointment. They didn't do any of the pre-selling. So a process for consistency and repeatability in sales, you will not scale without that. Not consistently, not reliably.
Those are freaking good. Okay, so 1, role play. 2 is remind me of that one again.
Public accountability.
Right. And 3 is absolutely crucial. Give me one more. So I got a question for you that I'd like, because I'd like to go over like technology and innovation. What do you feel that technology and innovation, how do you feel that what type of role does that play on a sales organization?
A big one. Time is money. The number one limiting factor on someone's earning potential or sales potential is time. It's one of the reasons that folks like Adam Sand, shout out to Adam Sand, the way that he's supporting companies to revamp their processes, the companies that I've heard adopt that model, their sales are exploding per rep. It's another reason that Cody has been able to produce the volume he has from a remote selling position. Is the person who's selling is doing one thing selling. I know Ryan Shantz, formerly, I believe, co-founder with Sumo Quote. I know he's obviously Sumo Quote sold to Job Nimbus. He's since moved on to new things. But Ryan worked with me to develop, for our training inside my sales system, which is a virtual selling strategy. And he was kind enough to peel back the curtains. He had 2 sales reps. Every time I talk to them he's like, yeah, I don't advertise the actual numbers because no one will believe me. I had lunch with the guy. The kid did almost $9 million in a year. He had 2 people do over 8. It was about 8 to 8.5. And I think it was like a smidge over 8.5. So
it's residential
during a storm, fully remote off a freaking island in the British Columbia, because all he did all day is sit on Zoom, have files plopped in front of him and close deals. So again, it's people are like, wow, but you're like, dude, but it's possible because all he needed to do like it was streamlined.
Yeah.
So technology has its place. It should be leveraged in a variety of ways, starting with operational methods to save sales reps time and ensure accuracy and consistency. And the second method it should be applied is to create an even better customer experience. Consumer trends are changing, technology is changing, consumer demands are different, and leveraging the tools at our disposal to do stuff like that is very important.
Last question. Are you leveraging AI? And what do you think about AI in the roofing industry or sales?
It's a good question. I've been underwhelmed. Obviously, it's got its place. I know that we've got a member that has done some really innovative stuff, training AI supporting with their supplements. I know quite a few of our members are using AI for email communications and things like that, writing templates. Really powerful for legal drafting. Run it by your lawyer, but it'll just save you a little bit of money when you're paying out the nose. AI tools like with what Eagle Views come out with and other platforms that can help with damage identification and things. It's growing.
Yeah.
It will. I think it's one of the top threats, so to speak, to our industry in terms of replacing human power and human need. And let's be real, it's a matter of time till a homeowner can say, here's my house, and something flies over it and tells them if it's damaged and pumps out a quote and sets them up with a contractor. And here's 5 people that can do it. There's, by the way, if you haven't watched my April Fool's video, just go to the Roof Strategist or Adam Bensman on YouTube and look at the video I published on April 1st. I created an AI tool that was, spoiler alert, April Fool's joke, but that tool is not far off. So I think it's important that people just cool their jets and realize that this stuff doesn't happen overnight, but we need to stay on the cutting edge to adapt to the changing times and the threats that we see facing this industry. And that's what I love to do with our members inside RSRA.
I feel a lot of people, as soon as they hear AI, one or two things pop up in their head: ChatGPT or Skynet, or both, right? And so, one could easily like just go down a rabbit hole, talk about Skynet, what have you. I think it's interesting that the world we live in prepares us for living with autonomous beings. So this is the only rabbit hole I'll hit, but I'll be a little bit more specific. So the movie Creator, they have androids that are AI, and they go into a game. It's a Chargers game. This was a live game where these androids that are real, that they've built, have walked into a stadium and watched a football game, right? Chargers game. And this is a part of the movie. It's a part of our ever evolving like world. It started with Terminator. Now we're seeing movies like Creator to kind of get us used to, like robots and stuff being a part of our everyday life.
Yeah.
I think it's weird. I think it's crazy though.
Dude, I just was in Vegas. I went to the Sphere, the new venue, and they've got their AI robots. Gosh, I wish I remember their name. It was really cute. But anyway, it was neat. We were there to celebrate my dad's 70th birthday. That's awesome. And he walked up to the robot and ask him a question, and they're like, "Who are you with?" And the robot looks around. They've programmed like over 300 and some odd facial expressions. Yeah. It's creepy. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm here celebrating my birthday with Adam, Sheena, and my wife Olga." And it like looked over. "Hi, Adam. Hi, Sheena. Hi, Olga." And I was like,
"Whoa!"
It was creepy. Whoa. It was creepy, man.
Whoa, that's weird.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time.
Adam, thank you so much for coming on. I know your time is real valuable, and you're scheduled out. I do thank you so much for this time asking me to do a podcast. It's pretty awesome. And thank you for all the golden nuggets that we talked about today. I know that someone watching this will be able to get multiple points out of it and take homes from it. If you were to give one take home, what would you say?
Okay, that's a good question. Implement those 3 things in your business and watch watch what happens. You know, I think there's a lot of people, myself included, I get into learning mode. I mean,
Yeah.
this is only one of the bookshelves in my office, and I throw out the stuff that I don't care to read again. These are the ones that are really impactful, that shelf, and then obviously whatever I do in Audible. But all the learning in the world is not a substitute for action. And sometimes we actually need to stop the learning and start the doing. And it's a balance of the two. So my tip would be, if you want to see change in your business, implement what you learned. Everything that I shared with you will cost you nothing. If you need help with a sales system, that might, but you can, I'm not telling you you need to go buy one, create one, build your own, and you're going to see the growth of your business will exceed your expectations just from those three simple things. I'd be willing to bet serious money on it.
I freaking love it. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a live stream here in the Roofing on the Rise studios, where we are sponsored by not only Chad T. Wilson Law Firm. When the insurance company denies, delays, and defends their position, reach out. I'd love to get you in contact with the right people over at Chad T. Wilson Law Firm. Again, Adam, thank you so much for coming along today. You guys stay tuned for the next episode of Roofing